explore the tree in running XAML applications. And the way you get that is through the live visual tree and the live property windows, which are under debug. Took me a while to remember where these are. Debug windows. Here it is, live visual tree.
You can use the quick launch as well, right? So if you type visual tree or something, that should work.
Visual tree.
There you go.
Oh, I could do that too. Or visual properties.
I love the quick launch in the top right. It's probably one of the most underused features.
Visual,
sometimes you gotta know what to type.
Property?
But
sometimes you have to know what to type.
Sometimes you gotta know what to type.
What's it called?
What's it actually called?
Property Explorer.
There you go.
Okay.
If you type the wrong thing, it does its best. For example, clue.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what clue is.
Property. I'm actually a pretty good typer, but I have sometimes difficulty in this.
Don't you love it when you're like one letter off and you're like an hour later?
Okay, so now we have the live visual tree. We have the live property explorer. So here in my visual tree, I can take a look at all of the XAML that's in here. Very interesting. What I can also do is come up here to enable selection in the running application. Now watch what happens. Now I get this red square and I can actually highlight something like view and it will show me in the visual tree. Let's get all of this to fit on the screen.
This is such a nice feature when you're doing XAML that's complicated and you have no clue where that label
So here's the text block, and then over here I can see what's actually in there.
Yeah, folks will say, hey, this is almost like F12 command line tools now, right?
So I'm going to change that to C, and it actually updates in the application. All right, let's see that again. So I click charges here, and I say, oh, what I really want is for that to say outstanding charges. Come back into the application. This works obviously a lot better on a bigger monitor. I can make live changes to that. Okay, so now what that gives me the ability to do is not only play around with the UI, but also make sure that this application performs correctly. So I'm looking at the amount, and I've got one for 200, and it doesn't seem like something bigger would fit. All right, so I'm going to click on this amount, and I'm going to come over to 200. Where is the actual value in there? Oh. Actually, what I want to do is, click the amount. It's that text box. And, all right, why am I not seeing the actual number? Do you know? I was practicing this before, and I was actually able to change this 200.
Not top of my head. As long as you get to the right element, you should be able to see it on the right.
Yeah. Oh, data grid cell.
Yeah, see, like there you can change the text from view.
Right, but I wanted to change the value. Is it in the row?
I forget already how the data grid stores it.
Yeah, I forget already. Oh, well, what I was doing before is changing the amount to like 20,000, 2,000, and seeing in real time that that the column was resizing. All right, well, sorry about that. I wrote it down, I had practiced it, but it didn't work.
Alas.
Alas. Okay. Another thing that I can come in the visual tree is display layout adorners in the running application. So now I get to see, what the borders are and how wide particular things are. And of course, what I can also do is make additional changes. So let's come up to the border and change the color to red. Okay. And come back into the application. Where to go? There it is. And actually now you got to, in order to get the application to work, when you click, you got to turn off the adorners and turn off the selection. And now, when I click on the application, isn't that beautiful?
That's beautiful.
Kind of red, white, and blue.
Yeah, you're very patriotic today. It's a great feature. I've worked on a lot of XAML projects, and this is something that has existed in the community.
Yep.
There's been some projects out there, but now this is built
Now it's
into
built
VS.
in, and you know,
It's huge.
play around with it, practice a little bit more, figure out what you can do. But you can change text, colors, and there is a way to change the values. Sorry that I didn't get that working. All right, so my number 5 is, we go into new project, we have Android, we have iOS, we have mobile apps, and what we have shipping in Visual Studio 2015 is Xamarin Starter Edition. And it's a version of the Xamarin Starter Edition that has support for Visual Studio. Right?
And what is Xamarin for those of us that might be new to it in the audience?
Xamarin is a plugin in Visual Studio that gives you the ability to build Windows, iOS, and Android applications. And you can create the code as a single layer stored in a portable class library. So you write your code once and then share it across applications, Windows, iOS, Android.
And
it supports XAML
C#.
applications, XAML, C# for the portable class library, XAML for the Windows and Windows Phone applications. And then you write your iOS and Android applications. You can write the UI in Xcode if it's an iOS app. You can write the UI in XML for the Android app if you want to do it all from inside Visual Studio. But the nice thing is the Starter Edition ships inside Visual Studio, gives you the ability to test applications, to build. There's a limit in terms of the size of the application, 128K.
Right. It's a starter.
It's a starter,
yeah.
but you could actually
Gives you a
put
start.
apps in the store. So if you write fairly simple apps, you can submit them to the various stores. Just makes it easier to get started with and start playing around with Xamarin. And then when you go into production, then you'd trade up for one of the business edition or something with more power.
Yeah, for folks that need to build that kind of cross-platform app and they want to use C#, this is a great investment. I always tell folks, check it out. Xamarin is very cool.
Yep. All right, those are mine.
Awesome. So we'll be right back and we'll switch right over to me, right?
We're not going anywhere.
No editing? I've been spoiled.
No editing.
I've been in the studio, folks, for like weeks editing stuff. I have done magic.
I don't like editing.
Has anybody watched the keynote out there?
I only edit
quite
if
fun.
we make egregious mistakes.
Egregious?
Or if we say something stupid. So far, neither of those has happened.
So far. There's always hope for the future. All right. So we're going to go through a bunch of demos. Hopefully they will all go super smooth. Excuse me, I was hitting run on one of my main desktops. So I'm running Windows, there's my cat as usual. I'm running Windows 10 on my machine, and what I'll tell you is I love the multiple desktop thing. For presentations, that's great. We ran into some issues setting up, so it wasn't as great for other purposes, but that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to desktop 1 here. Let's make sure it's there, yeah. And I'm going to take a look at my first tab feature. So the first thing I want to talk about is ASP.NET 5. Even though it is only a beta in this release, I think ASP.NET 5 is really awesome with what it's going to do for the future. The fact that it's going to run on cross-plat, Linux, Mac as a deployment target, so you have all sorts of like non-platform dependencies. You know, a lot of people have complained over time, hey, I'm going to choose .NET, but that means I'm stuck on Windows, and in my organization, or for whatever reason, that's a problem. We're hoping that this problem gets a little bit easier. But let's go ahead and start Visual Studio up fresh.
Or it was tied to the .NET framework, so to run an ASP.NET app, your runtime included a whole bunch of things that you didn't necessarily need.
And the runtime was at the machine level, and there was all sorts of problems. There's plenty of great videos out there that will help folks get through it.
Built on the .NET Core, which is the minimum you need to run .NET anywhere.
Or it runs on the regular framework. So if you still have the framework dependency, you can certainly do that. And today, that's the way you would run it. So I'm going to go to File, New Project, and just point out a couple of things here. For folks that are new and are saying to themselves, hey, all right, I want to get into C# and I want to build an ASP.NET 5 app. The way you get there is you go to the web in your language of choice, let's say C#, and you pick ASP.NET Web Application. You don't have to worry as much about the framework selector there, but when you get into this view, this is where the difference becomes available to you. So here you have the ability to create a project template that's based on ASP.NET 5 preview, and that is going to run that beta 5 and future betas and other things as well. Or you can build the traditional RTM supported 4.5.2 ASP.NET application. It's also worth saying that we've collapsed everything into one runtime, so there's no more different runtimes for like MVC and Web API. It's just one runtime now. This project template gives you a little bit of kind of a getting started experience, but you're not limited once you kind of hit file in your project and you create it. So I'm going to go ahead and just cancel this out because I actually have an existing project that I want to show you guys. And the existing project is going to be the PrepOps app. So what is the PrepOps app, Dimitri? The PrepOps app is an application that we have open sourced and built for the humanitarian toolbox folks. And this was something we did for RTM. Mm-hmm. It was why I spent a lot of time in the studio. We had a 3-day hackathon. We had a bunch of Microsoft engineers build an app that we hope the nonprofit world can use in the future. This show isn't about that, but I wanted to just give you the context. That's where I got this code, and it's all open source. So we'll put a link in the show notes. People can take a look. What's cool about ASP.NET 5 is it gives you quite a bit in just the very basic fundamental experience of just how the solution is structured. I think it's very, very nice now.